Hello and welcome to the Central Television. I am Lekon Obanjo. Here are stories making headlines beyond the continent. We begin in the United States of America, where the president, Joe Biden, has won Michigan's Democratic presidential primary comfortably, despite a significant protest vote over his stance towards the war in Gaza. Activists have spent recent weeks urging Democrats to vote uncommitted, and tens of thousands chose to do so. The U.S. is an ally of Israel, providing it with billions of dollars in military aid. Earlier this month, the U.S. vetoed a UN resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, while proposing a draft of its own, urging a temporary ceasefire. The U.S. position has angered many, including in Biden's own party, who wants the president to take a stronger stance against Israel's military campaign. Joining me on the news to discuss this is Otumba Olabode Oseni, political and public affairs commentator. Thank you so much for joining us on the news.
Thank you very much for having me in Central News.
Now, can you bring us up to speed about the outcome of the U.S. Democratic presidential primary in Michigan and what it means for Joe Biden?
Well, as it stands, the frontrunner in the GOP is Donald Trump. He's doing very well. He has won crucial votes, in New Hampshire, in Iowa, and now in Michigan. So he's doing very well. And the 78.6% Joe Biden vote in Michigan is just like a kind of a formalities, because traditionally the incumbent are normally not, they are not normally challenged. But having said that, we might find one or two other aspirants who just want to, test their popularity. So both Donald Trump and Joe Biden will remain frontrunner until when otherwise.
So what does
means,
okay?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, so yeah, what does the Republican Party, most especially the members, what do they see in Donald Trump that yet again we see the members thumbing for him to to carry the party flag?
That's a very interesting question. And the thing is, well, as a student of political science, you are taught that there will always be three types of people in a nation, whether civilized or not uncivilized, developed or not developed, not being rude. You find substantial number of people who are either ignorant, they are just like idiots, they don't know what they're doing. So to answer your question directly, there's these people who are just fanatics. They're just majority of people who believe that Donald Trump has not done any wrong, that the 2020 election, that he was robbed of it. They will continue to believe in Donald Trump because they also do not know what they are doing. Let me put it that simply.
All right, so let's quickly talk about the president. We see him winning the primaries in Michigan. Now, do you think that a solid backing for Israel's assault against Hamas played a role in him clinching the ticket in that particular state? And do you think it would work for him either negatively or positively when the presidential election will come up?
You mean Joe Biden?
Yes.
Well, the truth of the matter is the majority of Americans, the general public, are getting tired of funding a kind of a war, funding, not that they are going to cease being the ally of Israel, no, but they're just starting to believe that the war, the 10th October, starting from 10th October, the abduction of Hamas, the people that were taken away from Israel was wrong, and that the immediate reaction of Israel was right. But then again, they're now saying that there is a limit to how Israel can continue to bombard, can continue to deny basic things of life for the Palestinians, So the majority of Americans are becoming weary. They are becoming tired of the war. So they are not giving 100% backing to Biden. But having said that, because of separation of powers in America, if Biden even want to do anything, he can only do it with the approval of the Congress. And the Congress are more closer to the people than the presidency.
So doesn't that, sorry to comment, doesn't that mean now that the political influence that Joe Biden has garnered or had over the years is waning? Because we see the Democrats being told to vote uncommitted, and that would mean voting for the party and not necessarily committing to a particular candidate within the party. So is he not losing his influence?
That's what I'm saying. When you look at the percentage, he got 78.6% of the votes in Michigan. So the 20 point something, whatever percent that is left, they are significant, but not very, very important. They're not going to affect his re-election. That I can tell you for free. So, but then again, all opinion in a civilized country do count. Even though the majority will, minority will only have their say, majority will always have their way, whether right or wrong. But then at the end of the day, the majority are in support of Biden, the election of Biden, and that is what probably is going to count. So the effect of the minority that want to be committed or uncommitted may not make all that much difference.
All right, Otumba Olabode Oseni, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me, Lekon.
It's a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
And now in Central America, at least 17 people have died and 12 were injured on Wednesday when two buses collided on a highway in northwest Honduras. The accident occurred near the community of San Juan do Opoa on the highway that leads from Santa Rosa do Copan to the municipality of Gracias, about 220 kilometers northwest of Tegucigalpa. Rescuers assisted passengers trapped in a bus wreck as bodies lay on the ground. After the accidents, the president of Honduras, Xiomara Castro, has expressed her profound sadness and shock over the dreadful news of the tragedy. Now to Europe, where we understand that Alexei Navalny will be buried at a cemetery in Moscow on Friday. A spokesperson confirmed this on Wednesday, saying the service will be held at Boriskovoye Cemetery after a farewell ceremony in the Marino district. On Tuesday, the opposition leader spokeswoman said his team was struggling to find a funeral home, with some refusing to hold the service when they found out who it was for. Earlier this month, Navalny died suddenly in an Arctic prison. For years, he was the most high-profile critic of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Now, Yulia Navalnaya, the widow of late Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, said on Wednesday she feared disruption and arrests at her husband's funeral set to take place on Friday in Moscow. Addressing the European Parliament, Navalnaya assailed Russian leader Vladimir Putin as a mobster responsible for her husband's death in a forceful speech that drew a long-standing ovation. Russian authorities have said Navalny died of natural causes after he lost consciousness following a walk in his Arctic prison colony. Navalny's body was held for 8 days, which his team believed to be a bid to cover up who was responsible for his death and prevent a public burial. Russian authorities have cracked down on public gatherings in memory of Navalny, detaining hundreds for laying flowers at memorials.
I'm not dealing with a politician, but with a bloody monster. Putin is the leader of an organized criminal gang. Putin is the leader of... sorry. Thank you. And it's good to repeat it again. Putin is the leader of organized criminal gang. This includes poisoners and assassins, but they are just puppets. On the one hand, the public murder has once again showed everyone that Putin is capable of anything and that you cannot negotiate with him.
But I'll tell you that Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has met Balkan leaders in Albania, seeking to keep support and weapons flowing to Kyiv as Russia makes gains on the battlefield 2 years after invading its neighbor. Zelensky has been crisscrossing the globe in recent weeks to rally support for his beleaguered country as Ukraine's armed forces face a critical shortage of ammunition and struggle to hold back Russia's military advances on the ground. Albania's Foreign Minister Igli Hassani said Zelensky's visit is a pivotal moment for fostering bilateral ties and standing in solidarity with Ukraine in its heroic fight against Russia's aggression. Many thanks for staying with us. We now tell you that Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk says he's prepared to take a firm decision about the problems at the border with Ukraine, where some farmers are calling for a closure to stop the import of low-priced Ukrainian grain. Polish farmers have been blocking border crossings with Ukraine and other highways to protest at what they say is unfair competition for goods entering the Polish market from their war-torn neighbor. Tusk said the government is talking with the Ukrainian side about a temporary closure of the border and the cessation in general of trade.
Jestem gotów podjąć decyzje nawet twarde, jeśli chodzi o granicę z Ukrainą. Zawsze w porozumieniu z Kijowem, żeby nie było napięć niepotrzebnych między Warszawą a Kijowem, ale musimy znaleźć rozwiązanie, które będzie długotrwałe. Ostatnio pojawiły się hasła o tym, że Polska ma wyjść z Unii Europejskiej, na przykład na manifestacji Warszawy, albo że ma zamknąć kompletnie granicę z Ukrainą. To nie są postulaty, o których w ogóle można jakoś konkretnie rozmawiać. Ja nie jestem po to premierem, żeby Polska wychodziła z Unii Europejskiej albo żeby Polska stała się państwem blokującym granicę z Ukrainą. My jesteśmy gotowi do poważnej rozmowy o limitach. Te limity, jakie zaproponowała Bruksela i Kijów, są dla nas.
Now, French government spokeswoman Prisca Thévenot says the parliament could be convened next week in Congress in Warsaw to definitely enshrine abortion in the Constitution if the Senate gives the go-ahead in a highly unpredictable vote scheduled for Wednesday. The Palais de Luxembourg will host heated discussions starting at about 4:30 p.m. The administration, on the other hand, was backed by the left in support of the modification that President Emmanuel Macron had pledged. Conversely, some conservatives and centrists remain dubious about the wording that the administration chose.
Cet après-midi, les yeux seront rivés sur le Sénat, le souffle sera retenu et j'espère que nous pourrons prendre une grande respiration en fin de journée en nous disant que nous avons permis en français de sanctuariser un droit qui est mis à mal dans de trop nombreux pays alors qu'il était pour le coup acquis. Donc nous allons attendre, c'est un vote est par défaut incertain toujours, mais ce qui est certain c'est que on nous regarde. Sur la date du Congrès, vous le savez déjà, il faut qu'on soit sur le vote ce soir et ça dépendra aussi beaucoup du vote. Oui, le Congrès sera ou pourra être tenu la semaine prochaine, en tout cas réuni la semaine prochaine.
We now take you to Oceania, where firefighters in Australia are battling a huge blaze that has forced the evacuation of tens of thousands of people amid some of the worst fire conditions the country has seen in recent years. According to Australia's Bureau of Meteorology, hot, dry and windy conditions have created extreme to catastrophic fire dangers in parts of Victoria and South Australia. Severe thunderstorms are also forecast in the region, which brings the threat of dry lightning and strikes that occur during a storm where the rain evaporates before hitting the ground. Around 30,000 people were ordered to evacuate parts of Victoria before midday on Wednesday, when authorities warned it would be too late to leave. In the Middle East, Hamas chief Ismail Haniyeh has warned of a comprehensive displacement plan by Israel in the West Bank as it calls Palestinians to march on to Al-Aqsa Mosque from the first day of Ramadan. On Wednesday, the military wing of Palestinian group Hamas said it fired a volley of rockets towards northern Israel from South Lebanon amid escalating exchanges at the Lebanon-Israel border in recent days. Hezbollah, a Hamas ally, has exchanged near-daily fire with the Israeli army since war erupted between Israel and the Gaza-based Palestinian militant group in October, while Palestinian groups in Lebanon have also occasionally claimed attacks.
ما تشهده الضفة الغربية من تكثيف للعدوان الصهيوني بدأ يؤسس لخطة تهجير شاملة في الضفة، وهذا نداء إلى أهلنا في القدس والضفة الغربية والداخل المحتل بأن يشدوا الرحال إلى الأقصى منذ اليوم الأول.
Meanwhile, 150 Israelis have launched a 4-day protest march from Raim near the border with Gaza to Jerusalem, calling on the governments to reach a deal with Hamas to release the Israeli hostages still held captive in the Palestinian territory. Fighting raged on Wednesday in the besieged Gaza Strip, where the reported death toll neared 30,000 as mediators insisted a truce in the Israel-Hamas war could be just days away. The Hamas-ruled territory's health ministry reported another 91 deaths in overnight Israeli bombardment in Gaza, while UN agencies sounded the alarm on dire humanitarian conditions and food shortages.
שמשמעותי בשבילי שאנחנו צועדות בדרך שהם ניסו לברוח ולא הצליחו ונרצחו. היו גופות על הכביש הזה וההרגשה הזאת מלווה אותי ושאנחנו השארנו את החטופים והחטופות והנרצחים מאחורינו ובדרך ואנחנו צריכים להחזיר אותם עכשיו בחיים זמן ובחיים.
בפעם שעברה צעדנו מתל אביב עד ירושלים, צעדנו לאורך שבוע שלם, וכבר בשבוע שאחרי זה ראינו חטופים מתחילים להשתחרר. אנחנו מצפים שיותר אנשים יצטרפו אלינו, שנוכל לתת רוח גבית למקבלי ההחלטות, כדי שיקבלו את ההחלטות הנכונות ושנראה את החטופים בבית.
הצטרפתי היום לצעדת האחדות. אני יודע שעם ישראל הבין בדרך הקשה מהי כוחה של אחדות. ואני מאחל לנו להמשיך בדרך הזו עכשיו ובעיקר לאחר המלחמה. אבל לא יהיה שום ניצחון אם האזרחים שלנו ימשיכו להיצלק בשבי.
Now, thousands of visitors in Israel have been flocking weekly to the site of the Supernova Music Festival to pay their respects to the 364 people killed there by Hamas in the October 7 attacks. The Supernova Festival saw the highest death toll by far when Hamas militants broke through from Gaza in an unprecedented attack, which resulted in the deaths of more than 1,160 people. In the field at the Supernova site, one tree has been planted for each victim in remembrance, their frail stems supported by stakes. A visiting group of uniformed soldiers, some just returning after fighting in the Gaza Strip, sang the Hatkivra, the Israeli national anthem.
חשוב לספר את סיפורי הגבורה שהיו פה, מתוך הבנה שעם ישראל חי, ואנחנו כאן כדי לנצח ולהמשיך למרות הכל.
At first, when the war started, we thought, oh, we're not going to be able to come, but we said, no, we really want, it's important, more important even than normal to come down here. We felt like it was mamash chashuv for the girls to see, to connect, to hear the stories, to, you know, to understand what really happened.
We're seeing how this goes on and it didn't stop. But we're now here to see it and to feel it and to say that never happened.
We now head to Asia, where China's Eurasia envoy Li Hui will visit Russia, Ukraine and the headquarters of the European Union this week for talks on the 2-year-old war between Moscow and Kiev. China's foreign ministry in a statement said the trip will represent the second round of shuttle diplomacy on seeking a political settlement of the Ukrainian crisis, adding Li would also go to France, Germany and Poland. Li visited the region last year as part of efforts to mediate the conflict, holding talks in Moscow, Kiev and a host of European capitals. China says it is a neutral party in the Ukraine war, but has been criticized for refusing to condemn Moscow for its invasion in February 2022.
政府欧亚事务特别代表李辉将于3月2日起访问俄罗斯、欧盟总部、波兰、乌克兰、德国和法国，就推动政治解决乌克兰危机开展第2轮穿梭外交。乌克兰危机全面升级已满2年，战事仍在持续延宕。当前最紧迫的就是恢复和平，早一天开启和谈，损失就会减少1分。过去2年来，我们从未放弃劝和的努力，从未停下促谈的脚步。我们所做的一切都通往一个目标，那就是为止战凝聚共识，为和谈铺路搭桥。
And that's all at this hour. Don't forget to send your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number and email on your screen. You can follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Likon Onobanjo.